At the edge of the world, at land's end, there is a headland extending into the sea. At the end of that headland stands a tower. The 9th tower. Within the tower lies mystery and meaning. Truth and troth. Revelations and realizations. All you need to do is open the door. Welcome back to Tales from the 9th Tower. I'm Lothar Tuppan. I've always loved horror stories of any type in any media, and stories with monsters are my favorites. My parents realized that my interest was more than casual, to say the least, when I told them that I didn't need to have a nightlight anymore. See, I had 2 monsters in my room. One was under my bed and one was in my closet, and they were going to be keeping me safe from all the really dangerous things out there. But since they were monsters, they didn't like the light, so I'd be safer in the dark now. Now, while my mother was concerned about my somewhat morbid tastes, and my father just considered them lowbrow, my grandmother, in that very special way that the best grandmas can, indulged me. Even though she considered none of this to be either proper or Christian. Every Tuesday after school, I went to that very magical place called Grandma's house. And this one evening after dinner, well, I was flipping through one of my books on monster movies, and I was looking at the photos about the creepy castles, the cemeteries, the haunted forests, the mausoleums, and at some point, I must have sighed because Grandma said, "What's wrong, honey?" "Nothing. It's just that we don't have any really cool, scary places in America." Now, obviously I was a bit ignorant, but I was 11. "Lothar, ain't it a good thing that we don't have any of them horrible places?" "Oh, come on, Grandma, you sound like Mom." And I looked back down at the book, flipping pages a little petulantly until she spoke again. "Lothar, you've lived here in San Diego your whole life. You don't know what's out in the country." I looked up from my book and she leaned towards me. "Do you know why your mom and I moved to California?" "Well, Mom always said there weren't any jobs in Texas and you both hated the heat." "That's only part of the reason. Now, don't tell your mama this, but one of the reasons I moved was to make sure that she could come and raise a family safe like. You see, there's some really scary things living in the country." "Really? How scary?" "Well, you heard me talk about my big brother Johnny who died in that car accident. Well, when I was a little girl, Johnny's best friend Jesse, well, he was sweet on this girl. She was a young lady named Sally. He loved her something fierce, but from what Johnny said, well, she just wasn't as fond of him. But Jesse kept trying to get her to marry him, up to the point, she just up and left to Chicago with some city man who came through town. Oh, she broke Jesse's heart. You ain't never seen a sorriest soul mope about town so much. People tried to get him to forget her, but he just became more and more surly and angry. Finally, he just up and left, taking his truck, his 3 dogs, all his belongings, and went east to live up in the wild somewhere. Now, some say he really loved her, but most people just thought he was a bit off in the head. I don't know why, but for some reason, Johnny loved him like a brother. Now, I can remember, I'm not sure. I think that Jesse said that he either went to Oklahoma or Arkansas. I'm not sure which, but somewhere thereabouts, I think. Anyway, Jesse lived off the wild with only his 3 hound dogs to keep him company. He must have had some money saved up because every month or so he'd head into town to buy us a few supplies. But mostly, he'd just hunt and he'd fish, and I think he even grew a few vegetables. Now, he did all right except for this one autumn. See, after a long drought in a hot summer, food was scarce. And now the autumn was getting cold and windy. It looked to be a harsh winter, and one night right around Halloween, he went out to his storage shed and found only a little bit of beans and some old salt pork in the cooler. Now, why would anyone let their supplies get down that low? I don't know, but I bet he was real sorry he hadn't gone into town that day. Well, he cooked up the beans and the salt pork, and he ate a little bit of it before calling his doggies in. Now, he done loved his dogs, and he always made sure they had as much to eat as he did, so he called his doggies. "Steve-O, Jimmy Joe, nothing he don't know, you all come in here and get your supper." Those are funny names, Grandma. Well, I told you he wasn't right in the head. Now, anyway, them hound dogs came running and lapping up the sorry offerings real quick. But everybody there Everybody was still hungry. Nothing he could do, though, so he put them doggies outside, threw a few more logs on the fire, and then went off to bed. Now, Jesse was just about asleep when he heard a sound off in the other room. He looked towards the door, and he saw some strange-looking shadow against it being made by the fireplace in the other room. Now, he picked up the axe that he kept near his bed, and he quietly went to go to the other room. And there was the strangest-looking critter he ever did see. It was short, with dark fur and longer snout and razor-sharp teeth. And it had big paws with long claws on the ends of them. But it had too many legs, and they bent the wrong way. Now it was sitting there, munching on a rat that it had caught, swishing its big tail back and forth, back and forth. What the hell are you? The creature just looked up at Jesse with its red eyes, finished eating that rat, sucking its tail back like spaghetti, and hissed at him. And now Jesse was scared. Well, I don't know what the hell you are, but ain't no problem can't be solved with a good wood axe. And Jesse raised his axe and brought it down on the critter. But that beast was too fast, and Jesse only managed to cut off its big bushy tail. Just like that. Now the creature howled, and fast as lightning scuttled into the shadows. Jesse pulled the axe out of the floorboards and started looking for the creature, but it wasn't nowhere to be found. Jesse wiped the blood off his axe and then went to get the tail. He almost threw that tail out the window, but his stomach started growling and he thought, well, maybe he'd cook it up. So he cleaned it and he made a broth with it, and well, he thought it tasted pretty good. It was a bit gamey, but not too bad. After he picked that tailbone clean, he went back to bed. Now Jesse had just fallen asleep when the sound of scratching at the door woke him up. He sometimes had raccoons try to get in, so he just ignored it. Thought it would go away, but it didn't. And pretty soon, he heard something that wasn't no raccoon. Taily-po, Taily-po, I want my Taily-po. Now Jesse wasn't too sure he heard that. At least he didn't want to believe that he heard that. But it came again. Taily-po, Taily-po, I want my Taily-po. Well, Jesse jumped out of bed and ran to the door yelling for his doggies. Steve-O, Jimmy Joe, nothing he don't know. Y'all come here, catch whatever this thing is. Now Jimmy Joe and nothing he don't know, well, they came running and barking and sniffing, but they didn't find nothing. And Steve-O, well, he didn't come running for his old master, not at all. Damn lazy dog, thought Jesse as he closed the door, and he went back to bed thinking that thing had been chased off. Now Jesse had just fallen asleep when the sound of even more scratching woke him up. This time, whatever it was at the window. He looked out the window and didn't see nothing though, and the scratching was now coming from the door again. He started towards it when he heard even louder. Taily-po, Taily-po, I want my Taily-po. Get out of here! Whatever you are, go away! Taily-po, Taily-po, I'm coming to get my Taily-po. Now Jesse ran back to the window and yelled, Steve-O, Jimmy Joe, nothing he don't know, y'all come in here and get this critter. Now nothing he don't know came running to the porch, and he balked a bit, but then he stood under Jesse's window and whined pitifully with his tail between his legs, but there was no sign of neither Steve-O nor Jimmy Joe. Now Jesse shut the window, grabbed his rifle, and sat in the chair. He wasn't going to let nothing come to get him now, so he just sat there and tried to hold vigil all night long, watching if whatever that thing was came back again. But he must have dozed off at some point, because sometime right before dawn, he heard the scratching again. Only this time, it was coming from everywhere. And then it spoke again. Taily-po, Taily-po, give me back my Taily-po. And Jesse was just about to faint from fear, and he screamed, Steve-O, Jimmy Joe, nothing he don't know, where are you? Can't you hear me, doggies? Taily-po, Taily-po, where's my Taily-po? I ain't got your damn Taily-po, why don't you leave me alone? You took my
Taily, and I want it back. Now!
Jesse panicked. He ran into the bedroom and pulled the covers over his head like a little boy, and he yelled, "I ate it! I ate your damn Taily, it's gone!"
The scratching stopped. The only thing Jesse could hear was his breathing and his own heart thumping in his chest. And then he felt a heavy weight on him, holding him down, and then sharp claws tearing into him. Jesse screamed for a long time, and then, just in unholy silence. Now it's my brother Johnny who found Po Jesse. He was going to go up to visit him when he found his cabin all ripped up, and then he found Po Jesse. Johnny called out, as he was heading back to his truck to get to the sheriff. "Steve-O, Jimmy Joe, nothing he don't know. Any of you around?" But them dogs never came. Now Jonas said as he was, closing up the door to his truck that he thought he could hear off in the distance, "Taily, Taily, I done got my Taily."
I just sat there, face slack, eyes staring, and said, "Grandma?" She looked a little bit concerned.
I didn't scare you too much now, did I, honey?"
"That was so cool!" She laughed and we hugged, and then I think we watched Hollywood Squares on TV or something. But she had made her point all right. Years later, I found out that Taily is one of the most loved and common folktales from North America, especially the Appalachian region. It's in tons of folktale books, and pretty much every storyteller has a version of Taily in their bag of tricks. But I never forgot the lessons of that story. That the weird stuff isn't confined to castles or tombs or ancient forests. And that there ain't no place safe from something that really wants to get you. Something with red eyes and too many legs that bend the wrong way. Certainly your bed isn't safe. Not even with the covers pulled up over your head. Just ask Jesse. Hail the stories, hail the listeners, and pleasant dreams. Tales from the Ninth Tower number 2, Taily. Story arrangement and performance by Lothar Tuppan. Sound effects from the Free Sound Project. Music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech. Sound design and mastering by Lothar Tuppan. This presentation is copyright 2023 to Lothar Tuppan, and this recording is released under a Creative Commons 3.0 Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. All other rights are reserved. The Ninth Tower Productions.